The Friars Club in New York City gave George Burns and me a dinner at the Waldorf Hotel. So we got in there the morning before. So I said to George Burns, now you know he's done terrible things to me. For 50 years, he's done the most awful things to me. So I said, George, let's get to bed early tonight, because tomorrow night we have to make a speech. It's a dinner for us. So let's get a good night's sleep. So I get a suite of rooms at the Plaza Hotel. About 4 o'clock in the morning, I feel somebody shaking my arm and waking me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't know what it was. I couldn't imagine what it would be at that time. And it's George Burns. And he had a deck of cards in his hand. At 4 o'clock in the morning, he woke me up and he said, take a card. And I was so sleepy, I didn't know what I was doing. So I took a card, and he says, look at it. And I couldn't even see. And I looked at the card, and he said, put it back in the deck. I put it back in the deck. He said, thank you, and went back to his room and went to sleep. And left me lying there. He slept the rest of the night beautifully. I couldn't sleep at all. I was up all night. Now, a couple of days later, Jerry Lewis comes into my office, and he says, Jack, how would you like to get even with all the dirty tricks that George Burns has played on you? I said, I'd love it. He said, I'll tell you what you do. He has a birthday coming up in a few days, which I knew about. He said, why don't you send him a beautiful necktie on his birthday and have a card in it saying, I love you, in lady's handwriting, but don't let her sign her name. Then the next day, send him another beautiful necktie with the same lady's handwriting saying, I love you, and don't let her sign her name, and do it every day until it'll finally drive George Burns crazy, and you, being his closest friend, you'll call him, he'll call you, tell you his problems, and you'll have the laugh on him. So I told Jerry I'd do that. I did this for about 15 days. And finally, George Burns called me. And he says, Jack, you can stop with the ties. I need shirts now. So, wait a minute. I'm not through yet. So I said, George, for God's sakes, how did you know it was me? And George said, who do you think told Jerry Lewis to tell you to send me the necktie?